What's going on, guys? Jagira here, and today we're going to be speculating about the Highlander. I think at this point the whole community knows he'll be showing his beardy little face in Season 3, but let me just whip out this picture here. I showed him a Gladiator speculation video. In case you haven't seen that video, I'll put the card up there in the corner so you can check it out. Anyway, the picture. So quickly, here it is. It's the picture showing that the Highlander will be released in Season 3. As you can see, Season 3 is Glory and Wild, and the Wild part will go for the Highlander, while the Glory part goes for the Gladiator. Yes, this is all speculated, but considering how the previous ones have been correct, I'm pretty sure it's safe to assume this will be correct as well. But anyway, the Highlander wasn't known as the Highlander then, he was known as something else. Now, the name he was known of back then was Zweihander. Let me just pull up this pic here. You can see there, Zweihander changes stances. This was his code name as such with the first leak. Okay, so Zweihander. Now this is a German word. Zwei meaning two, and Hander meaning, well, Hander. As in, you use two hands. Just to point out here, I meant to pronounce it as Hander, whereas I accidentally said Hander because I mixed up my German and my English. Apologies, back to the video. So the Zweihander is a two-handed greatsword, whoever would have known. But it's a big type of greatsword, basically more like a poleaxe. Alright, we're talking 180 centimeters in total length, so that's what, about 5.9 foot for any of you who still use that. With a weight of about 3.2 kilograms which is, what's that, 7.1 pounds? So 3.2 kilograms to 7.1 pounds. These is the maximum, but you know, For Honor is over the top, so there you go. Okay, and it's a very sort of momentum driven sword. Like the moment you swing it, you travel with the momentum and you keep going. Okay. Thing is though, Zweihander's German. It's a German word. And Highlander. Yeah, don't see how that's going to work. So maybe I should now ask why I don't think that. So, what is a Highlander? Well, the name Highlander refers to the Scottish people who lived in the Highlands of Scotland, and not the 1986 cult classic of the same name. Scotland, in case you don't know, is the country just north of England. A little neat thing that I'd like to point out as to why I'm sure as hell this is a Scottish Highlander, in case the name didn't give it away, is this little picture here. See that? Yep. That is part of the kill. You don't believe me? Okay, here is a picture of Mel Gibson as William Wallace in the film Braveheart. Now that is a cracking film. You see the similarities between these two? Now, I won't go into the fact that the kilt was not really common or worn in Scotland until roughly the 16th century by men and boys, and For Honor is meant to be set in the 11th century. Yep, apparently it's meant to be set in the 11th century. Don't ask me how, but like I've said, this game is as historically accurate as a coconut in the North Pole. But anyway, it's fun. It's a fun coconut in the North Pole. Also, shame on you, Mel Gibson, with Braveheart being set in the 13th century and having William Wallace wear a kilt, you dickhead. While we're on this picture, how about that blue war paint? What, you can't see it? Okay, let me zoom in. See it better now? You see right there. Yep, that little shine. That, in my mind at least, is meant to be blue war paint. Now, the Britons of old, who were Celtic, we're talking around the times of the Roman Empire, okay? Julius Caesar, well, that's Roman Republic. Doesn't matter, Romans, okay? So the Britons at that time, who were Celtic, they would paint their faces blue and other blue tribal markings when going into battle, okay? There were many tribes in Britain during this time, but we're talking about the Highlander. Highlander was Scottish, so chances are it would be referencing the Picts, which was a Celtic tribe who lived in the north of Scotland and probably the south of Scotland as well, to be honest with you. And they spoke a language similar to the Britons. A bit like how the modern day Scottish speak a language which is similar to English but unique in its own ways as well. So yes, the Picts and other Celtic tribes all over Britain painted themselves blue before going into battle. So no, the Scots during the time of William Wallace did not paint their faces blue, because that tradition died out with the Picts. Okay, so what I'm thinking here is the Highlander is going to basically be a sort of pop reference culture type thing of William Wallace and Braveheart. At least in my mind, you know, they've probably, the For Honor team in Montreal sat down, watching TV, Braveheart's on, they see Mel Gibson and think, that's what we'll base the character on. And even if you look at the picture of Mel Gibson, right, in, I forgot his name, in Braveheart, sorry, as William Wallace, okay, he's even got the same side painted blue. So it is not meant to be historically accurate by any sense of the imagination, but this is definitely showing, look, this is going to be a Scottish Highlander character. Not historically accurate, but it's pretty fun in its own unique way. So now we got all that out of the way, what faction do I feel our little Highlander shall place in? Well, this is going to be none other than the Vikings. Oh, how beautiful this is. Did you know there is an old Icelandic saga which warned Vikings not to raid Scotland due to the poor weather, because it's so foggy, that they might smash their ships on the rocks, and the locals spoke an incomprehensible language and were extremely violent. You already know the Highlander is going to be badass as fuck when even the Vikings were scared to attack the Scots. Even though the Vikings were terrified of the Scots, they do share some common history. The word kill is a derivation, which means to derive from, which I spent about 2 minutes looking up on Google. Right, so it is a derivation of the ancient Norse word kjilt, which I probably butchered, which means plated or pleated, and it refers to the clothing which is tucked up and around the body, because the way they put a kilt on is you basically lay down, you roll around, and you just tuck it all around you. Yeah, that's that. And you make sure you wear no underwear underneath it. You go into battle bollock naked. So yeah, they share some common history. And here's the thing, the Vikings, okay, in For Honor, speak Icelandic, which is a form of Old Norse, right? So if the Norsemen were alive today, okay, they would be speaking something which closely or extremely most likely resembled Icelandic. You know, very, very close. So yeah, the reasons I feel the Highlander will be part of the Viking is due to their shared history. I mean, even some Scottish words nowadays derive from Old Norse, such as kilt. And if I remember correctly, even haggis, right, came from the Vikings to the Scottish, which they love. And I'm not even going to explain haggis because that shit is disgusting. So, do you guys remember when I said that our Highlander will be wielding a two-handed weapon? Well, like I previously mentioned in the video, Zweihander was the original leak name for the Highlander. Now, I believe the name is not actually referring to the type of sword, Zweihander. I think it's basically a sort of, you know, the clue is in the name itself. Zwei, two, Hander, for hands, basically. So, the Highlander will be wielding a two-handed sword. Praise me. So yeah, literally he'll be wielding a two-handed sword. Now, funny thing is, there is a very iconic two-handed sword in Yes, a very iconic two-handed sword in Scottish history, and that is the Claymore. Right. So in Scottish Gaelic, Claymore means great sword. A little fact for you guys. Gaelic in English is pronounced just how I'm saying it, while in Scottish it's pronounced Gaelic, right? So think garlic without the R, while Gaelic in Irish, right, is pronounced as Gaelic. Yeah, okay, so back to the sword. Now, a claymore is characterised, it's a real big sword, okay? Longer, well, it's going to be a lot longer than the Warden's longsword, okay? Probably about 10-15 centimeters. I'll get the measurements up shortly. And it's also heavier. But the main characteristic is that it's crossguard, right? You know how the base for the Wardens, the crossguard is just straight across, okay? 180 degrees. Well, the Claymores, it's forward sloping quillions, right? with quarterfoil terminations. And those are like sort of Christian motifs on the end, which is also quite funny because the Vikings weren't Christian. Well, they did become Christian. I'm confused. Anyway, so that's the claymore, okay? Two-handed greatsword, and its crosshilt is of forward sloping quillions, so it's not at 180 degrees. They face forward, so it's really good at trapping swords in and disarming people. Okay, so now on to the sort of statistics. So we're looking at our Warden's longsword with a weight average of 1.1 to 1.8 kilograms. That's 2.4 to 4.0 pounds. With a length total average of 100 to 130 centimeters. That's about 39 to 51 inches. While the blade is an average of 90 to 110 centimeters. That's 35 to 43 inches. Let's compare this to our Highlander's claymore. With a weight of 2.2 to 2.8 kilograms, that's 4.9 to 6.2 pounds, straight off the bat heavier. With a length of a total average length, sorry, of 120 to 140 centimeters. This is 47 to 55 inches, and the blade length, well, that'll be 100 to 120 centimeters. That's 39 to 47 inches. So the Highlander's claymore is heavier and bigger than the Warden's longsword. This means that it's going to have much greater reach and also a much more powerful force behind each swing. Sounds good. But you know what gets me? And I'll bring up the original leak where it says Zweihander. Okay? It says here 2 stances. Now, I do not think these are going to be stances. Like, we have the Nobushi's hidden stance, and the Warlord has their full block stance. They are very reaction-based things, and you just use them to get the advantage. But this clearly states 2. Now, okay, this is where I'm going to go a little bit, you know, you guys may think I'm crazy, but this, I think I'm onto something. 2 stances. I feel he's going to have 2 active stances, and they will be, one will be an aggressive stance and one will be a defensive stance. Depending on which stance you're on or in, however you want to say it, your moveset's going to change slightly, or your moves in general just change slightly, and they'll probably give you benefits while taking things away from others. For example, if you're in an aggressive stance, you will probably deal increased damage, but in return you're going to take more damage, or your attack speed might be quicker. While in a defensive stance, you're going to be a lot more sturdy. You're going to even get hyper armor, but in return you're going to deal less damage. Okay? Now, I think I could probably say, right, that a lot of you right now are thinking, you're crazy. There's no way they could bring this into the game. Well, granted this isn't like For Honor, but there's a game called Smite. And in there's a character called Tyr, the Norse god of justice. And his entire kit revolved around him changing stances. And yes, that's a MOBA, and this is not a MOBA. But I feel they could be looking at that and making it work. After all, Tyr in Smite is voiced by a Scottish dude, and the Highlander's going to be Scottish. I am just saying. So yeah, you guys want to see some gameplay to see what I'm like, just literally go to YouTube, Smite, Tyr, okay? And you can look at the gameplay and you can see what that's like. I would do it, but I've kind of told myself I'm never going to play Smite again. Me and MOBAs share a very bad history, and I am ashamed to admit it. Anyway, so knowing all this, okay, I would say he's going to be a very, very, very hard character to master. Probably easy to play, but hard to master. You know, because you're going to have to learn the best time to use the stances, when to use the stances, when it'd be most effective, you know, and stuff like that in general. I also feel this is going to make him a hybrid hero. To be honest, it doesn't seem like the assassin type. It sounds too complicated to be a vanguard. You know, vanguards are just straight up easy to use heroes, okay? You think Warden, Raider, Kensa, you can, if you've been away from the game, you can jump in, pick up those heroes, and you're okay. With this sounds too complicated to be a Vanguard. Nor does he seem like he'd be a heavy. Because, well, I don't know. See, with a heavy, you have someone that's very slow, okay? Shigoki. I want to say slow and then say Warlord, but I feel that's stupid. But you've got the Shigoki. I mean, he's the most, like, he is very slow but very powerful. Even maybe Conqueror, okay? Just stuff like that. These heavy characters are slow, but they are powerful. Now, the Highlander, right, in actual real-life history, there's a thing called the Highland Charge, okay? And what it basically was a bunch of Scotsmen would come together, run headfirst down a hill into enemy formations, okay, very quickly, smash the formations apart, while their friends behind would then come over and just kill them because they're out of formation, okay? One of the reasons why the Romans was never able to conquer Scotland was this very reason, and the weather, but because Scotland hilly, Highlanders run down the hill, full pelt, straight in. You see, that doesn't seem something like a heavy character would do. And then you think of the Shigoki and only charge. Anyway, no. So, yeah, I don't think he's going to be a heavy just from that part of history. Okay? So, you eliminate all those, and it does leave hybrids. Probably he would be a sort of hybrid between Vanguard and Assassin. So, yeah. Bit like the Centurion. I forgot the name. I will be honest, okay? I have no idea what the feats could possibly be, but I've just mentioned the Highland Charge. I think that would be hilarious, funny, and fitting. So, I explained how the Highland Charge was, but in For Honor, you could, say you're in Dominion, you pick your enemy target, you click on them, and you gain bonus movement speed and a bonus initial attack damage to them. So the first hit, you hit them, okay? And what this would then do is, with the great force and, you know, the extra speed, power, force, you hit into them, you smash them, they fall on the floor, they're stunned, drained of stamina, and this allows you to get a top heavy hit them. I think that'd be a really fun idea for a feat, you know, the Highland Charge. If you guys have any ideas of feats that you'd like to see for the Highlander, or, you know, just random speculations, guys, feel free to stick them in the comments down below. This is a fun little thing we do where we can just throw ideas back and have a little bit of a laugh. So, in quick summary, Highlander, a Scottish Gaelic hybrid who switches between stances, offense and defense, wields a massive claymore, and a signature feat would be the Highland Charge. As always, guys, this is just a speculation video. None of this is confirmed by the For Honor team. I just make these videos for fun, and I think they're nice. So, good luck to all you future Highlander mains out there, but remember, there can only be one. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, how about subscribing, and you can become absolutely awesome. I've been Jagira, you all have been amazing for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, and bye bye.